So today there's been beef between Paddy Pimblett and Dan Hooker on Twitter. Obviously, Paddy Pimblett is fighting at UFC 324 in just over 2 weeks, 2 weeks tomorrow. And today, or rather last night, there was an interview released by the MMA Guru where he interviewed Paddy Pimblett. And Paddy Pimblett was obviously talking about his fight, his upcoming fight, and other stuff as well. And in the interview, he said, like, he made a comment about Dan Hooker. And that kind of started off this beef. There was a comment about Dan Hooker's grappling, basically saying that he can't grapple. And I'm going to show you the clip. I'm going to show you all the context about like the back and forth that's happened today, and then I'll give my own opinion at the end. And yeah, so before we get into it, please like, subscribe. It really helps out. And yeah, I'll show you the video. So this was the interview from the MMA Guru, and here it is. So
And lad, people are saying like Justin Gage, he's older than that lad. He's 2 years older than Dan Hooker.
That's true.
Dan Hooker can't fucking. Dan Hooker couldn't grapple a fucking rapist off his ma. You know what I mean?
Okay, strong statements about Dan Hooker there.
yeah, so he said that. He said Dan Hooker couldn't grapple a predator off his mum. That's obviously, if you know what that means, it's basically saying that in dire circumstances, Dan Hooker's grappling would fail. So that's how bad. He's basically saying it's really bad if you didn't get it. But so he said that, and then in response, Dan Hooker said on Twitter, he said, where it is here, yeah, this one. So this is Dan Hooker on Twitter, and he attached a video. Just gonna read it. So Dan Hooker said, "Ain't said shit when we were face to face. B word." I thought we were mates, but you're not a very good mate, are you? At Paddy Pimblett. Rest in peace, Ricky. And if you don't know who Ricky is, Ricky was the guy who, if you remember, after one of Paddy Pimblett's fights in 2022, I think, remember he wore that sleeve. There was like a black sleeve that he wore that had his friend's name on it. And he was saying that he killed himself and, you know, he's standing up for men's mental health and stuff like that. That's the guy. That's Ricky. Ricky is the guy who killed himself, unfortunately, who is on his sleeve, that sleeve. And in this video is I guess I think it was from 2022, maybe I think it was maybe the UFC London fight week, because that they were both on that card from UFC London in March 2022. And basically this is Paddy Pimblett talking to Dan Hooker and Ricky as well. And I'll just show you the video and then I'll say afterwards.
No, he was number 7.
You know, I don't actually give a fuck. I hate everyone ranked in front of me.
Yeah, I like it.
You know what I mean?
That's lads, so you can like me then.
If you're behind me, great bloke.
So should I hate you then?
Great bloke, absolutely love it. Second you get above me, I'll fucking hate you. Your head's attached to your body.
I like the style. No, he was number 7.
Basically, this is the fight week of that UFC London, I believe. And he's basically saying that Dan Hooker's saying here that Paddy Pimblett, when they were talking, had nothing to say to his face. And Dan Hooker then says, you know, as long as you're ranked below me, because this is when Paddy Pimblett was on the come up, and he's saying that as long as you're ranked below me, you're fine, but when you get ranked higher than me, you know, I'll start beefing with you and stuff like that. I'll start being more trash talky with you. And it's a bit of a, like, them kind of joking and stuff. And he also said this. He said to Paddy Pimblett, "It's on site, you fat B word." Calling him fat because he eats a lot and stuff like that. And then in response to that video, the one with his friend Ricky, Paddy Pimblett responded and said this. He said, quote, "Thought we couldn't be mates because I'm ranked above you. You took a hypothetical joke about how bad your grappling is and responded by talking S word. About my mate who committed suicide, now that's the lowest of the low. An on-site is found by me. By me, you are utter dog S word at fighting. Thumbs up." So, obviously, my microphone, as Paddy Pimblett said, it was a hypothetical joke. As I explained, like this is a joke. This is clearly a joke. It's obviously him just saying, as I said, like, is in dire circumstances, Dan Hooker's grappling would be bad, because that's how much he's saying his grappling is bad. It doesn't work. So obviously that's a joke. That's not true. Like, Dan Hooker's mum didn't actually get assaulted in that way. That's not like a true thing that happened. So it's hypothetical. It's not real. It's just to explain, to emphasize, as to hyperbolized the the rating that Paddy Pimblett thinks Dan Hooker's grappling is at. So that's that. There's literally nothing else to that. And in this video, I'm gonna because a lot of the has been kind of started off by, or it's been rather ignited by this video, by him including Ricky, because he's saying that Paddy Pimblett basically said, obviously said that because he's like making fun of his mate. I don't believe that's how this was portrayed, or how this was meant to be portrayed by Dan Hooker. Obviously, Paddy Pimblett was like, so in the initial video, Paddy Pimblett is talking, trash about Dan Hooker, right? And in this video, this just is the only video that Dan Hooker knows about or has of him talking to Paddy Pimblett and saying that they was all nice and stuff. And it just happened to be that, his friend Ricky was in this video. I don't believe him saying Ricky was like some sort of a. It was some sort of a, him talking down or like throwing an insult because his friend's dead. I don't believe that's how that was. This is just him saying, I thought we were mates, but you're not a good mate, are you? Like saying that, because in this video they're saying that they're mates. But obviously with Paddy Pimblett trash talking, that's obviously they're not mates. That's why Dan Hooker said, but you're not a very good mate. But for some reason, because he put Rip Ricky, because that's him there, he's just paying condolences, he's sending condolences, obviously. I don't believe, yeah, as I said, I don't believe that's him being like, making fun of the dead, making fun of him, his friend. Just because he was in the video, he just probably added that. And then Paddy Pimblett saying this in the response is, it's this one here. Yeah, he was right about the hypothetical joke, but I don't believe he was talking like, trash. He wasn't talking bad about his friend. I think that's been taken way out of context by Paddy Pimblett, and I don't know how he's done that. I thought he'd be smart enough to kind of think that, but maybe it's his friend who died, unfortunately, and he's probably fired up about it. Maybe he's taking it in the wrong way. Who knows, right? But yeah, that's kind of all I've got to talk about for that, because Paddy Pimblett definitely took that in the wrong way. And I've seen a lot of people online as well. They've been saying that Dan Hooker was out of line for doing that. I don't think that's true though. I think everyone's got it like mixed up. It's like Dan Hooker did not mean to like, throw shade at his dead friend. That's not what happened. It's clearly, if you just read it, he's talking about Paddy. That that's clearly not, like, everyone just got it wrong. So it's I think it's a complete misunderstanding, and yeah. So we now have a Dan Hooker Paddy Pimblett beef because Paddy Pimblett thinks that Dan Hooker was talking smack about his friend, his dead friend. So yeah, that'll be fun to watch in the next coming days, and see what else Paddy Pimblett puts out, or see what else, because they both said, what was it? They both said it's on site, whereas on site's fine by me, and then obviously Dan Hooker said it's on site too. He said here it's on site, so maybe in the future they might be in the same fight card or whatever, and they might start beefing, might get in some sort of altercation, let's just say. So yeah, that's kind of all I want to talk about this. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.